So, Tiffany, I'm so excited to have you back. Welcome back, and thanks for taking the time to chat with us again. We touched a little bit on vitamin D in the last episode that we did together, and I think we'd like to dive more into vitamin D, how it affects us, and what we can do to get more in our bodies and live a healthy, happier life.
Yes, excellent. It's great. I know when we were going over that, it's a topic on itself. So thank you so much for bringing me back for this. I appreciate the chance to speak with you and your audience.
We're just so excited to have you. You have so much knowledge. So let's start off with, why is vitamin D so important to us?
Okay, well, right now, even just thinking about the pandemic, vitamin D is an essential process for our immune system. So right from the very, very basic need, vitamin D has to be functioning. It has to be available, and our body has to be able to have all of the resources to utilize it to protect us against not just viruses, but the common cold, fungal infections, and really just maintaining a healthy immune system. Vitamin D is actually quite interesting. It's not a vitamin, it's a hormone. And hormones, they can work by upping or down regulating different processes in the body. And vitamin D is just like the rest of them in that it has different processes. Sometimes it has to kick on your immune system, sometimes it has to kick off your immune system. So, right now with COVID, people are needing the extra immune ability. But then also, you hear about that like 4% of the population that has no underlying conditions. Um, you have to wonder, do they have enough vitamin D to actually do the opposite and down regulate the immune system? There's that cytokine storm, so if, you can be a very healthy person and be impacted by COVID, and you really wonder what is going on. And it very well could be your vitamin D levels not being in check.
I did not realize it was a hormone. And yeah, that's so true. We just don't know what is causing some people to be affected and some people to not be affected.
And so talking about vitamin D as a hormone is that our body has to go through many different processes in order to create a certain function. So vitamin D could be used and directed towards our bones for repairing broken bones, for remineralizing enamel. It could also be used for helping with like cholesterol and vitamin D work together. And they actually turn on different formats of vitamin D to then, instead of going to the bone, it might be directed to something like your immune system. Like I said, for kicking the immune system on. So what happens, like the immune system gets kicked on, and it's like we have this huge attack that goes, and it's just like guns blazing, shoot, 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 shoot. Because what it has to do is it has to act fast. It has to trap in whatever invader is there. But then you also need to have the ability to turn off that part and go in and specialize, like the special forces, to go in and just specifically get that invader. Otherwise, all we're doing is creating damage. Our immune system is damaging ourselves. So by talking about it in a hormone, that's kind of what happens in autoimmune conditions. That hormone doesn't have the ability to turn off, and it just keeps shooting away, and it's damaging us and our body. So yeah, it's considered a vitamin, but it is actually a hormone, and it's essential to different processes in our life. And so we need to make sure that we do have enough of it in our system from whichever way we try to get it. We can get it naturally from the sun. We can get it in pill form. We can get it in liquid form. The fact is we need to get it. We need a lot of it.
And I know that when I was really tired and the doctor said that it was the low vitamin D that was making me just feel like I wanted to just go to sleep at any moment. So, and mine was dangerously low. And it does come in different forms, but all forms of vitamin D are not created equal when you're looking at vitamins, when you buy them over the counter. So what should you look for? Is there something specific?
Well, there's actually kind of two parts to the question. I'm going to start with the first part, where you're mentioning how vitamin D was making you tired. And that's something that people hear. Vitamin D is a happy hormone or happy pill, happy supplement, helps fight against depression. There's that hormonal aspect again, right?
Right.
Our vitamin D is needed to help regulate our circadian rhythm, our sleep and wake cycles. And so if you don't have enough vitamin D, you're not kicking in our natural, sleep and wake cycles. And so you can kind of get trapped in this level of not being able to ramp up your energy, and you just get down. You can get depressed, seasonal affective disorder, fatigue, and so on. So part two of your question is finding the way that works best for you. Really, vitamin D3. And I don't care what form you take it in. In the past, over the counter, or sorry, recommendations from the doctors and even prescriptions were a vitamin D2, which has to go through other processes in the body. And not everybody has the genes and the mechanisms to flip that switch. So vitamin D3 is the active form. And it is essential for our immune system, but it's also essential for pulling calcium from our diet, from our bloodstream, and putting it into our bones. If we don't have the vitamin D3, then that extra calcium could be going into places that we don't want it, into our joints, into our blood vessels, creating hardened arteries. So really, as long as you're getting vitamin D3, you should be fine. Yeah. I personally take it in drop forms. I put a couple drops under my tongue. I know the daily recommendation is 800 IUs. I'm not going to recommend anybody take any specific amount. I feel like it's important that you go get your blood tests to find out how much your vitamin D is. You should be in the 70s. The thing is, most of us are operating in the 20s. We're deficient. We're not even sufficient. Most of our population is full on vitamin D deficient. So, there could be recommendations from some naturopaths out there, functional doctors. They might say take 5,000 IUs every single day, at least for a certain period of time. Get retested, see how you are. The thing is, there's not just one pill for one ill. So this isn't one of those things where you're like, here's vitamin D, it's going to solve all your problems, but try vitamin D for a little while, get your body up to optimal functioning, and then maintain through healthy lifestyle. Right? That's how all medication should be used, whether it's pharmaceutical, naturopathic, herbs, oils. Everything should be cyclical, and everything should be focused on maintaining balance and optimal living. And not all doctors are testing for the same thing. And we generally go for testing when we have a specific problem. So you're going to get the test on the things that are majority. And really, it's working on that lifestyle. It's working on how can you get a sufficient amount of all the necessary vitamins. Supplements, there's a lot of studies out there to show that supplementation doesn't actually work. That bright yellow pea, you're just peeing out all your vitamins, or the body is storing them. And the thing is, some of that is true. The quality matters. There's a lot of synthetic products out there that's going to give you all these vitamins, in a synthetic version. The body doesn't understand what to do with that. For millennia, our body has been living in nature. Mm-hmm. Our body knows how to get folic acid out of a lemon peel. Our body knows how to get magnesium out of kale, even dark chocolate. Mm-hmm. The thing is, our body doesn't necessarily know how to break down the chemical component of magnesium or folic acid in a synthetic form. Yes, it could be providing some benefit, but at the same time, it could be blocking other receptors that are needed for other functions in the body. So, when it does come to vitamins and minerals, sourcing is important. Getting whole food-based nutrients, ideally from food, if not food-based supplements, that is quite essential.
What sources are vitamin D found in foods?
Yeah, and it's actually really hard to get vitamin D from foods. You have to eat a lot of cold, like Arctic type of fish, right? And then you also have to, which you can't get. And you also can find it in things like mushrooms, but again, it's such a little tiny amount that when it comes to vitamin D, the best form is not actually from food. The best form is the sun. That is the most important thing. What I recommend to people, just to help get them on a better sleep routine, get them on a better mental health routine, get them on a better immunological Supportive routine is as soon as they get up in the morning, as soon as that sun rises, go outside, get that sun. One of the biggest things in our population is people being afraid of the sun because of cancer. Thing
Right.
is, the thing is sometimes too much of it, yeah, is bad. The right amount at the right times in the morning, example, is great. Limited time throughout the day, that's great. What's not great is lathering on these chemicals that block your ability to absorb some of the nutrients that we need from the sun. Those chemicals now getting into our body, and our body's like, what are we supposed to do with this? Now that vitamin D is needed to counteract that sunscreen, whatever chemicals on there, that the vitamin D is not actually working towards natural function and immunity. It's actually working at combating all that poison that you just put on your skin.
Exactly.
So it's really it's scary because I don't want to recommend people spend too much time in the sun because I don't want you to have radiation effects on the skin, but I also don't want you to be putting all that poison all over yourself. So, the best way to get out in the sun is to have a hat on, have some long sleeves, some kind of coverage, have small bits of exposure off and on, not just baking in, the 12 to 2 time of day or even 11 to 4, really. But to be smart about it. Water is hydration. We need it. We're
Right.
75% water. The thing is, too much water can kill us. We can actually drink too much water and die, but water is a good thing. So the sun, which is needed for absolutely every living thing on this planet, we need it. And it is essential for our well-being. And so, yeah, get a little bit through salmon, get a little bit through mushroom, because those are really great sources of food for brain health. But get out in the sun. That's really what we need to do.
Even just 15 minutes, if you can just sit out for 15 minutes and absorb it. And that's part of the problem too, is the absorption. When you can absorb it when you're sitting in the sun, but not everyone absorbs the same way when they're taking supplements. And so that's why it's important to have blood work to see where you stand and then to follow up if you are actually absorbing what you're taking.
Yeah. And it's actually important too to know not everybody can convert vitamin D from the sun through our skin. We've had so many changes in our epigenetics. This is so many changes in our lifestyle, not necessarily our DNA, but how our DNA presents itself, that we sometimes can't actually convert that vitamin D just because we're very, very light skinned, let's say. If we're out in the sun, our body doesn't want to take too much, right? Our body knows how to balance it. So there will be certain things that can kick in that will potentially over generations affect us from being able to absorb it. Dark skinned population living around the equator, it's the purpose is to protect them from too much vitamin D. The further you get from the equator, we tend to have lighter skin. So, we're now moving all around the world. We're being exposed to different things. So our genes are changing. So having a balance between getting it naturally the best way, but then also supplementing is a really great option. And getting your levels tested. There's been a hidden pandemic for years and years now when it comes to diet and nutrition, heart disease, diabetes. For years and years, we're putting all of this science and all of these studies and all of these recommendations into solving this problem, but our population is getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Vitamin D is essential for helping build the lining of our blood vessels, of our smooth intestinal linings. And our mouth is the very first part of our digestive system. So if the vitamin D is helping in our gut, it's helping the whole way, and it's starting in the mouth. So, vitamin D deficiency can show up just as simple as a bit of bleeding gums. I had a dental hygiene client that came back and he said, "You saved my life." And I was like, I don't know how I did that. Um, and so I inquired, and he said, "You saw these symptoms in my mouth. You questioned my medical history, and you told me to go get a sleep study." And his results came back. He decided to go 3 weeks later. His results came back, and his doctor called him and said, "Come into the clinic right away. You're days away from a massive heart attack."
Oh my goodness.
and yeah, days away. And that just knowing that even if my knowledge got nowhere else but him, then it's wonderful. But I've had in the dental chair or in a coaching chair, I've had people cry because
Mhm.
they didn't know they could feel this good. Like they're so used to the norm and they didn't know there was anything wrong,
Right.
right? And until you do.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly.
So that's really where you and I connect so much, is we're so heartfelt in helping people just feel good and live life and, and enjoy it and be happy.
Yeah, I had a lady come back. She was having bleeding gums and we couldn't get control of it. We did a deep cleaning. She saw the periodontist, and 3 months later it was back again. And I'm like, something's wrong. She was one of the people that I sent for a blood test back then when they were sending back and saying, no, everything's okay. And I'm like, you know what? I can't explain it. But with everything in me, I feel like there's something wrong with you. I just don't know what. And so she went back and she said, you know what? My hygienist is very adamant about this. So this is what she wants me to do. And she ended up having thyroid cancer. So I think she squeezed me so tight after she was diagnosed. She's like, thank you for not giving up. And I don't know what it was. I think sometimes it's like a divine power, like something just coming through you and saying, no. Like, I don't know why with her, I was like, no, I really feel like something's wrong with you. I can't explain it. And
Right.
so she came back and said, you saved my life. And I think that one encounter with her is what led me down this path, this journey that I'm on right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah. And then you're dealing with other things as well, and you're able to overcome them. And so you'll help in different ways as well. And this is the thing, is that you didn't just let it consume you, or you didn't ignore it. You did something with it. And I feel like our society is getting there, and we're in a place now where we're learning how important community is. So giving and sharing information.
Exactly. So I just want to thank you again for taking the time and talk about vitamin D. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience?
Please don't stress yourself out about all the things that could be going wrong. It might be really simple things to help you, such as going out in the sun in the morning, drinking more water, breathing better. There's a few little things that you can do to ramp up your energy, to ramp up your immune system, that aren't going to lead to the possible disease or conditions that you might have the initial signs for. So stress will only complicate things more. So be kind to yourself. Take little steps here and there till you feel better. Um, but yeah, try not to consume too much information that it leads to stress in other areas, because you feel like you're not enough, you're not doing enough. You feel guilty because you're not eating properly. You feel guilty because you're not exercising. Well, those are negative things that are going to bring you down, and they're not going to help you at all. So even if you have to set your goals every day for just 1 minute out in the sun, or one jumping jack, right? Take
Right.
realistic goals and and get there, be kind to yourself, and go from there. So that I think is my takeaway, um, from what you're saying, because I don't want stress to be the leading cause of whatever complication you might end up having.
I think that's really great advice to wrap that up. I thank you. And how can people get a hold of you again?
I am on the webs, of course, mindbodymouth.net. You can email me at tiffany@mindbodymouth.net. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Mind Body Mouth Coach. So that's all one word. And yeah, I'm happy to have consults with you, or plan whatever it is that you might need. So I'd
That
be
is
happy to
awesome.
meet.
I say, if you are having any questions, definitely reach out to Tiffany. She is a wealth of knowledge and information, and very helpful. And the way she shares information is just very genuine. And so I would definitely recommend working with her. If you're having any of these issues, reach out. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us and share your knowledge and information.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And please keep doing what you're doing. The world needs it. Yeah.
Thank you again.